Hello, my name is Diego Castro and welcome back again to the School of Magic of Love. And today we are going to start to talk about the 7 laws of the universe. And the first law that we are going to start to study is the law of nature. So we can begin by saying that the law of nature is the basic law. It is also a law that has no hierarchy and that handles or manages law information. But even though this is a basic law, this is a law that has a lot of strength. For instance, we can say that it has the strength of a wild horse or a wild bull. But this is a bull or a wild horse that we need to learn to control so that it can obey us. So we can also say that all the other laws are acting simultaneously over the law of nature. But the law of nature doesn't act over the other laws. Why is this? Because what is superior acts over what is inferior. What is inferior can never act over what is superior. That is why we say that the law of nature is a horizontal law. So one of the main functions of the law of nature is to provide the sustain of our body, to provide the structure of our body. Why is this? Because a physical body is necessary for the development of our minds. Without a physical body, we wouldn't be able to have a mental field that has a personality. So apart from all the experiences that are associated with pain, with suffering and the instinct for survival, we can say that the law of nature provides the sustain for our minds. That is why when there is no physical body, our minds, our personality begin to dissolve and later on they disappear. So we can say that the main purpose of the law of nature is to provide the sustain of our minds, the development of a personality, and most important of all, it gives us the possibility for an understanding. This wouldn't be able without a physical body. Masters in the universe also call our physical body, our experiential bodies, our biological entities, or the dresses of God. We can also see that nature doesn't allow imperfections. That is why we can see in nature the survival of the fittest, natural selection, and also compatibility. Nature doesn't allow sickness. Anyone who is sick dies. If we find sickness, malformations, hybrids, and many other things, it's because other laws are acting over the law of nature. The law of nature doesn't allow imbalance. The only way in which the law of nature can be violated is because superior laws are acting over the law of nature. We can also see that the law of nature is not ruled by feelings. Anyone who is sick dies. When an animal is sick, in nature, immediately predators, bacteria, or viruses come. In the law of nature or in nature only survives the fittest and the strongest. It has nothing to do with feelings. Through the law of nature, we also go evolving. There are three aspects of the law. The unconscious state of the law is the person who is innocent. The conscious state of the law is the person who realizes that there is a law, and the conscious transcendent is the person that is no longer subjected or controlled by the law of nature. In the law of nature, it is impossible for all of us to reach old age or to get old. If we get old, it is because other laws are acting over the law of nature. But we are going to explain on that later in another video. For instance, we can find that in nature, older males fight for control and for power with younger males. These older males, they get injured, they die, or they get sick. Females that are no longer able to get pregnant, they are rejected and they are made aside. As I said before, it is impossible from the law of nature to get old. If this happens, it's because other laws are acting over the law of nature. The law of nature keeps a perfect balance. That is why there are no feelings involved in the law of nature. We are totally insensible from the law of nature because this is a basic law. The only thing we need to do to follow the law of nature is to follow our instinct. Instinct keeps us in the law of nature but not in harmony. That is why we cannot make relations from the law of nature, because relations imply the law of harmony. Instinct has three basic aspects, which are to defend life, to generate life, and to maintain life. These three aspects have nothing to do with feelings, relations, or harmony. The law of nature doesn't care about respect, others, or feelings. The law of nature only cares about your own survival, only your own survival. That is why we can see that in nature, males fight for their own mating, not for others' mating. That is why we cannot make relations from our instinct, because our instinct, or we cannot expect from instinct harmony, we cannot expect from instinct respect, we cannot expect from instinct understanding, caring about others or feelings. This is all controlled by a part in our brain which is called the reptile brain, that we use a lot. We as human beings use a lot the reptile brain. The law of nature, as I said before, has a divine purpose. The development of the conscience of the Son of God wouldn't be able without a physical body. Can you start realizing why behind every event there is a perfect purpose of love? For instance, in a lake full of crocodiles, you can only find pure law of nature, pure instinct. In a lake full of crocodiles, you can only find survival and mating. We as human beings in our physical body, we are also ruled by instinct and by the law of nature. But we have another archive that crocodiles or reptiles don't have. We have the mental archive where respect, feelings, understanding, and many other things are stored. That is why we as human beings many times behave as reptiles, as animals. However, the law of nature is necessary for our conscious evolution. In the law of nature, we can also see that every different species has a behavior that is particular and automatic. That is why you don't have to teach a cat to be a cat. He is a cat since he is born. You don't have to teach a cow to be a cow or a snake to be a snake. They all have their own different behavior according to their own different species. That is why you don't have to teach a human being to be a human being from instinct. You do teach a human being to be a human being according with each different culture, but that is not nature. From nature, the behavior that we have as our species has the same characteristic that the other species have. To maintain life, which is feeding ourselves, to protect or defend life, which is the instinct of survival, and to generate life, which is mating. But unfortunately, we as human beings, we make relations using our instinct instead of using our mental fields or our mental archive. Our minds are a non-physical projection of our brains. Our brains are the result of a genetic combination. Brains are more or less specialized according with each genetic combination. That is why we can say that some people have more abilities or more intelligence for some things than other people. A specific behavior or mentality that can be learned is also the result of a specific or a certain kind of genetic combination. That is why we can see that some races have different mentalities. But of course, when these races are mixed, these mentalities are also mixed, and thus we find different mentalities. So, summarizing things, we can say that the main purpose of the law of nature is to provide the structure for the experience of our spirit. This wouldn't be able without a physical body. In the law of nature, we can also recognize our own behavior as species. We can also find our instinct. And as I said before, our instinct has three main functions, which are to maintain life, to defend or protect life, and to generate life. This is of course very easy to recognize in all of us. For instance, to generate life, nature uses genetical compatibility. But of course, not all of the members of the same species are genetically compatible. We have a lot of genetic characteristics inside all of our cells, and not all of them are compatible. When we talk about genetical compatibility, we talk about those characteristics that provide the maximum efficiency, the maximum specialization, and the maximum harmony inside a physical body. And nature uses attraction for all of these. Attraction is also very easy to recognize. For instance, you may see a person of the opposite sex and you may find him or her attractive, but you may see another person and you may find him or her not attractive. This has nothing to do with beauty stereotypes, but with a recognition that your instinct is doing inside of yourself. So when attraction is mutual, we have what we call genetic compatibility. But when the attraction is only on one side, we have what we call a natural selection, but not necessarily there is a compatibility. So when attraction is mutual, we have what we call the state of being in love or infatuation. But remember, the state of being in love, infatuation, feelings, and love are things that are very different one from each other. So this is the state that nature uses for a procreation. When a procreation is done under the laws of nature, the result or the outcome is generally harmonic. So when we study other laws, we are also going to see that a lot of procreations are not done under a genetical compatibility, but by other circumstances, such as people feeling lonely, people being isolated, and then they have relations or sex with the first person that they find, or other causes such as political causes, religious causes, cultural causes that of course are necessary for an experience, but that are out of a genetical compatibility. And that is how harmony is lost, that is how we lose harmony. Another of the basic functions of our instinct, we can recognize it in our desires. But of course, it is very important not to confuse the desires of our physical body with something that happens in our minds. What happens in our minds, we call it what we want from our ego. For instance, from our ego, we want a lot of things that we don't need, while the desires that are originated in our instinct are those which are connected with the maintenance of our physical body in a healthy, harmonic, and equilibrated way. All desires correspond with a necessity of our body, even though those desires that appear to be subtle and that are apparently not connected with our physical body, such as the necessity to share with someone, to find company, to socialize, they tell us all about a lack of energy in our physical body that we give to our physical body through caresses, through affection, or even just by getting closer to someone and sharing their auric fields, we are sharing energy. Nature recognizes this as a necessity of our own body to find balance, to find equilibrium. So, this was the explanation of the law of nature. In the next video, we are going to explain the law of harmony. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comment, please write it down below. And I wish you all have a nice weekend. Bye bye.